Don't Be Alone with Jake Hogan is brought to you by Prime Video, presenting The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. RogerEbert.com calls it a magnificent second season. The Rings of Power is award eligible and available for Guild members at consideramazon.com.
Hi, I'm Moon Unit Zappa. Don't be alone with Jake Hogan unless you're prepared to blow up your life so that you can fulfill your destiny.
Don't be alone with Jake Hogan.
Hi there, and welcome to Don't Be Alone with Jake Hogan. I am Jake Hogan, and I'm so happy that you're here to share this great show. We have a great guest. Moon Zappa is here with us, and she's had a very tumultuous and interesting life. She just wrote about it in this interesting book called Earth to Moon, and it was not easy growing up to be Moon Zappa. She was the daughter of, still is, the daughter of Frank Zappa and Gail. It was a difficult life growing up in Hollywood, and they were difficult parents, and she just wrote all about the trauma she experienced in the book. And she's famous. She got famous young for being on a kind of novelty song called Valley Girl, which became a big hit and was a big deal when I was a kid. Identified San Fernando Valley as a place, and that's where I lived. But she's also had to deal with a lot of difficulties trying to make sense of her family, which was not a conventional family, was very difficult, was sometimes more of a business than a family, and still dealing with the aftermath of that. She opened up her heart and her psyche to write this book, and we'll talk about that. And we'll talk about what it is to have trauma and what trauma counts. All that will be discussed. If you have a question or comment, please write into dbawjk@gmail.com and send me your comments, questions, and please share the show with a friend if you like it. And let's get on with the big show. Let's get on with the great guest, Moon Zappa.
Don't be alone with Jake Hogan.
Moon Zappa. Hi, Jake Hogan.
Hi.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for asking me.
You wrote this great book called Earth to Moon.
Thank you.
And it's fantastic, but it is ripping yourself open and going like, here's what's going on inside. Mm-hmm. How'd you come to that? How'd you come to that?
Well,
is that just natural, or was it that seems like even for you, it seems like that would be painful?
Well, I was raised watching The Bionic Man.
Right.
And so I know that when you rip it open,
right,
you're going to get pieced back together.
Even better,
stronger,
sure,
faster.
Sure, right. Does it? And has that been working?
Yeah, I would say it has been.
Okay,
yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
I mean,
because I think my perspective has shifted to understanding that we're all kind of born with this goodie bag self that nobody asks for. You didn't pick your eye color. You didn't pick your reaction to stimulus. You didn't. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you're just like, well, how do you work this thing?
Right.
And so I think what I'm realizing is what I'm really raging against is powerlessness. And who do you take that up with? Where's that suggestion box? Do you know what I mean?
Right. Well, I mean, the powerlessness against the powerful. Like, who has the power? If you're feeling powerless, who do you think has the power?
Well, in the case of being a kid growing up in a house that I didn't have a say,
right?
Your parents have the power. So, but I think power, if it doesn't uplift everyone, is an aberration and misuse of power.
Right.
Power over is only fun for the person, I think, going,
right. So the evil genius wielding the power. I guess you're right. I think when it comes to parents, and you've said this yourself, they come with their own baggage and they're who they are, and which is kind of a bummer sometimes when they're not who you want them to be.
Right. So, and if I blame them or if I blame myself, neither of those things allow me to progress. Because when you don't have a say and the system's cuckoo to you, and I was the Michael Keaton character in Family Ties in my family.
Right. Arch conservative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also had that awareness that they got handed something down the line. And I think I saw the film Glory as a young person. And when I saw that film, I don't know why I had this awareness of soldiers on the front line and being that first line of defense. in order so that you don't need the last lines.
Right.
And there was something psychologically about that for me that I was like, it ends with me. I will not carry these troubling ways of being forward.
Wow. Do you think you can do that?
I mean,
you
that's
think
what
you're doing?
I climb that mountain every day, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I try.
Every time I don't cry or rage out,
Right.
I'm winning.
And I just realized we said Michael Keaton when we meant Michael J. Fox. But
I meant Michael J. Fox.
Yes. All right.
Welcome to menopause
I get
brain.
it.
Thanks for
I got
correcting it. Yeah.
no,
in my head, I
it's-
picture him, but I say a
Yes,
different
me
thing.
too.
Thank you.
But our listeners will be good. That's not Michael Keaton. We know who Michael Keaton is. We know the difference between Michael
I
Keaton and
do.
Michael J. Fox.
Yeah, he's the one that likes to be in his underpants.
But we can't.
Yeah, in movies.
We can't. Runner's body. He can
Yeah,
do fine. He can
exactly.
do whatever he wants.
Bravo.
Yeah, it's good for him. My show, Don't Be Alone with Jake Hogan, is all about me dealing with my own problems. And as I discussed with you, my problems are, I feel like I've had plenty of traumas in my life, but they don't match up. I couldn't write about them in a book. It wouldn't be interesting to anyone, I think, because they're if I describe them to people, most people would go like, but to me, they're still traumatic. The parents, when my parents were fighting, it's like, well, did they get divorced? No. Were horrible fights? No. They still married today after 65 years? Yes, they are. So well, then what are you complaining about? People fight. Well, when you're a little kid, when parents are fighting, you feel out of control. And so that's my, that's a trauma. Does that trauma count?
First of all, you'd have to be in a comparison place to say yours is less than.
Right.
If you remove comparison and you just go with the feelings that you experienced that were less than optimal, then of course they're still valid because they're true for you.
Right. It is true for me.
Right. I read an amazing book called The Choice by Eva Eggers. Mm-hmm. I hope I'm saying her name right. And she was a Holocaust survivor, and she ended up becoming a therapist when she finally got to the States. And her position was, because of what she had been through, it didn't make a difference. She was going to treat each patient the same way, whether they had lost a child or they were complaining about a stain on their brand new, the upholstery of their brand new car. Because it's never really about that thing either. There's something that's deeper. I mean, obviously with the loss of a kid, but there's the mechanism for helping somebody see themselves and have compassion for themselves that's still the requirement.
Right. But it seems like the person who has a stain on their upholstery, even though I understand why they might be upset and I understand why it might be difficult, it seems like at a certain point you expect an adult to deal with that in a sort of slightly easier way. Or at least...
But you never know if the person who's experiencing the problem has the skill set to manage it. In other words, it could be a mild problem, but they don't have a good mind to solve it. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? You don't know who's standing next to you and what their struggle is with the thing that they're gnawing on.
Right.
So there's that. And then there was something else about what you said that I was thinking about. Oh, following that logic, I heard somebody else saying this, maybe on a podcast or something, then the only person who's allowed to be upset is the person who has it the absolute worst. And then you're in a competition with the person who's got it the absolute worst.
Right.
And so then none of us are allowed to be upset because that guy's had it the worst.
Right.
And so if we're playing the worst game, then everyone zip it. But if we look at our like how do we express ourselves? How do we because some people, the way they heal is by doing what's called post-traumatic growth, where they help people that went through the same thing that they went through, and in healing them, they heal themselves. For example,
you and I know each other for many, many years back. Mm-hmm. You're one of the only people I've ever gone to a rodeo with.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is very unusual.
Yeah.
That's like
my first and my last.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And I wore very uncomfortable cowboy boots.
Yeah,
that whole time. I
know, because I think we got all geared up, and
we did.
and then you don't think about the perils of the. And I am wearing cowboy boots. That lasted.
Okay, well, that's good for you.
I didn't see any rodeos.
No, the cowboy boots are fine to some people. I don't have the gams for them. It doesn't work for me. But that was fun. That was fun to go to. There was no trauma to me on that trip. There may have been trauma for you on that trip. I don't know.
Well, we observed some trauma. when we visited a household.
Yes.
And
we did.
We can keep that to ourselves. But I was definitely like, something's not right here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we saw a couple that were fighting.
Yeah. But they were fighting so quietly, but still it was fighting.
It wasn't. It's not. Good news is they're not together anymore.
That is good news.
So it worked out. But so tell me about the impetus to write the book. Before I examine my own traumas, I want to find out, as a litmus test, how you're doing.
Okay.
So what made you get, the balls to go ahead and say, okay, this is what it is. You talked about the $6 Million Man. You've got to get it out there, and do that thing, and then you did.
So what happened was when Gail died. So I was introduced to my parents as Frank and Gail.
Right.
And I was raised with two people that were adults that were Frank and Gail. And I essentially felt like I was parenting the parents.
Right.
The system in the house was what's called Pharaoh syndrome, where all arrows point to the top of the pyramid and the whole family sacrifices for the genius to just do his work.
Right.
And that would work if then the next in line gets a chance to be the genius and everybody rallies around that person. Right. But this is a system that's
pyramid schemes don't work.
They don't work.
Yeah, they don't work.
You got to know when to get out.
Yeah.
And so when Gail died, we'd always been signing contracts as a family that we were like the Musketeers. Right. And so whenever you'd buy something, you'd have to buy 6 so that everybody had one equally. It was just a even Stevens stated vibe. And so when Gail died, she left all of my father's intellectual property to my 2 younger siblings that I helped raise. And essentially the way I took it is, I wish these people well infinitely, but you and your brother Dweezil, not so much. And that was the thing that was just mind-blowing to me, because if you're told something and promise something and you're all in it together, sacrificing equally, some more than others even, and you're having the shared experience, and you know the expectation, the logical objects in motion stay in motion, science thing. When that didn't occur, I had to rethink absolutely everything in my life, because I would have spent the rest of my life making sure my father's legacy moved forward. Right. So the upside is I got to find my own artistry, but that's because I make lemonade out of situations. But what was I knew I could become a cautionary tale about being destroyed by the most disgusting betrayal in a family, or I could become my own example to myself and to my kid and say, again, love gets to win. This is abhorrent behavior.
How do you explain that choice to yourself?
Well, first of all, I had to just do what happened.
Right.
And I worked it like it was a cold case, and I was a detective, and I was just doing it forensically. And I was saying, well, when did I first notice this could have occurred? And then I was like, oh, right, both my parents were estranged from their siblings. I never thought it was going to happen to me. So then I started mapping in a linear way the moments where the world was one way, and then an event occurred, and then the moment was another way after that. And a lot of the times my traumas were just things that I was still looping on, that I was still angry about, I was still hurt about. And so then those went on the timeline. And then as I was looking at all these events, and then I did a little research, and I saw Frank was gone for 7 to 9 months out of the year in some cases. So fresh empathy emerged, but also then I was like, maybe I had to grieve. Did they do it on purpose, or were they just built that way?
Great question. And what's your conclusion?
Well, I had to grieve both. And ultimately, it doesn't matter, because my needs weren't met in both cases. Right. Hence figure A, which is it's powerlessness that I'm actually raging against. And so I feel volcanic with, like, what do you do when, if you're trying to play Frisbee with a guy with no head, no arms, and no legs, it's not going to go well.
No, it's true. And I don't recommend it. I don't. And again, hard to find those people who want to play Frisbee.
I know.
But it's
a dying sport.
You're absolutely right. It's also the kind of thing where that betrayal leads to other betrayals, Like, it's like it's rough. Like now you have this thing with your siblings.
Yeah, but I mean, the book again is an invitation to all of them to have some self-inquiry and to, I guess in my head, in the most foolish older sister way, I thought, but if you know what happened, maybe then you'll understand why we should all be a family. That's still me saying, let's. Family is so important to me.
Right. And it is very important to you, always has been.
But again, it comes from realizing that in some ways we all got a different parent, because I was the starter kid, and they're like, that's not, let me try again with this one.
Right.
And then you're like, this time this one will smile more.
Right.
I don't know, but
Right. Don't Be Alone with Jake Hogan is brought to you by the good people at Prime Video, presenting the Emmy-winning series Fallout, starring Walton Goggins, Ella Purnell, and Aaron Moten. Fallout is the story of the haves and have-nots in a world in which there's nothing left to have. 200 years after the apocalypse, a peaceful denizen from a cozy fallout shelter is forced to return to the surface and is shocked to discover the wasteland waiting for her. Fallout is being hailed as an all-time great, not just by me, but by critics, and has been named one of the best series of 2024 by The Washington Post, Entertainment Weekly, and USA Today. Fallout is awards eligible and available for Guild members at consideramazon.com and streaming now on Prime Video.
Don't be alone with Jake Hogan.
as an older sibling, I thought we were shoulder to shoulder moving forward. And they saw me, and I didn't realize that until I was, again, putting myself in their shoes, that they were not feeling like all for one and one for all. They were like, oh, this person's bossing me around. I got to live up to this one. I got to surpass this one. I got to, and there wasn't the culture of the house of, let's celebrate this one's accomplishments. And there wasn't like a check-in. We didn't have the Sunday quarterbacking, whatever thing. I don't even know why I went to a sports reference.
It's all, that's your whole life is sports.
Yeah.
Sports and tea.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, thank you for the tea.
You're welcome.
This is called, this is Earth to Moon Unit Tea.
Yeah, I have a tea company, and you can, do you love the smell of books? Well, now you can taste a book, because this is
the smell of books?
That's the taste and the smell. Books?
Okay, well, I have been known to suck a page of a book because I have an oral fixation. So there you go.
Okay, so Jay, enough talking about me. Let's get to you.
All right, so my trauma, I remember feeling like a lonely kid, even though I had a big sister, but she was very isolated and separated from me. I remember feeling like I came home a lot and watched TV and didn't hang out didn't feel very, taken care of necessarily all the time by my parents. Also, my parents my mother specifically did a fair bit of either triangulating me with my dad and all that kind of stuff, and them fighting with each other, and me feeling like somehow I should be a therapist or some kind of moderator in the middle of this fight, saying, well, mom has this point, but dad, can't you hear this point? And no reason that a 10-year-old boy should have that, to be in the middle of that. But yet I was, and still feel that when things go wrong, it's kind of my fault. These are not unusual circumstances for people.
How did you get love in your house? What was the way that things were not that?
Well, I think from my mom, I got love by being an ear, listening to her issues, listening to her problems, maybe doing chores and taking care of things around the house. And for my dad, making him laugh, were I got appreciation from that.
Do you think that those elements created your drive to do what you do professionally?
100%. I mean, I'm a concierge style producer because I had to take care of my mom, and I'm a comedy writer because I took care of my dad. So absolutely, those two things allowed me to be whatever. If I work well with people, it's because I have an okay antenna about, is this person upset? Is this person not upset?
Right.
How can I sort of weave through this? How can I make it better? All that kind of stuff. That's my instinct.
Right. I'm envious of people. I'm going to get back to something with you, but I'm envious of people who have a faith, because if I took a macro lens and God was on my side, I would be like, how can we get this really stubborn lady to do her art.
Right.
Because if we don't intervene and destroy her, she probably will just go along with this program and never be awake in a moment. And so from that perspective, hooray that everything was destroyed. Right. It made me have to
figure out in a new way of being, in the way that sort of when all of civilization is destroyed, you must build a new civilization.
Right. And so
here's the thing. My parents are still alive, and I'm still taking care of them, and I'm still triangulating, and I'm still trying to make my dad laugh, and like none of that has changed. Mm-hmm. So I'm still living it, but I'm more aware of it as I'm living it. So I don't feel quite as bad about it. And I also have a few more boundaries, which makes it a little like 10% healthier. But my sister died a few years ago. So there's really just me to help in this organization. It's sort of like I'm leaning on me to help my parents, and there's not too many other people. My wife helps. That's about it. And so I can't do much else other than suffer through it if I'm feeling put upon, or if I'm feeling not heard, or I'm feeling I'm just taking care of them and not me. I can't do much about it.
Could you live with the consequences of not taking that action?
No.
So, and this is a conversation I literally just had fresh off the presses with my own therapist. And she said, what if you empowered yourself to make your decisions your decisions? Because sometimes it doesn't feel like I am deciding. It feels like I'm just the one left doing the thing.
Right. You're being reactive. But she's saying, what if you're being active? What if this is an active choice?
Yeah. What if you just brought your awareness around, you are making a decision because you are doing it.
Right.
And if you're doing it, do you want to keep doing it? And if you don't want to do it, can you live with not doing it? A fear of mine is that I will have a calling and I won't answer it. But you have a million callings. You in particular have a million callings. How can you possibly do all the things? I'm of the opposite way. Like, I've already sort of settled in on 2 or 3 things, and some of those things are being taken away now. And I sort of like, well, what would be the next thing? And I have no idea. Right.
Because there's not like a burning desire to like do, I've always wanted to do it, I never had time to do is X.
Right.
Like, by the way, X is one of the things I've never done. I have a burning desire to do. But I hate raves, so why should I want to go do X? But you know what I'm saying? Like, that's a fascinating question. What's on your list?
I think one is to rest, because this was a big endeavor.
Yeah.
I want to head in the direction of comedy in terms of my writing and my professional world, and I also have a desire to do something with movement and dance. And I don't know what that would look like, but being physically embodied is, while I have the ability to do it, I want to do something with dance or movement. I just find that,
give me an example of
like
what that
to choreograph something and have it put together an hour-long something with movement.
Right.
And I'm really fascinated by movement, and especially when if you can, it's another form of storytelling. And I guess my big interest is in storytelling.
Yeah.
And so what are all the different ways?
2 words for you: TikTok. I'm told there are a lot of dances, a lot of people dancing, a lot of people expressing themselves on the TikTok. I
don't do well with those things, because I feel like how I felt in high school, where I'm like, which club am I part of? And I spent so much time alone that I don't feel, even when I am a part of, I don't have that feeling of I belong. So I really struggle. I'm like, is the internet my boyfriend?
Right.
Is the internet my bad boyfriend? Is the internet the boyfriend I've always wanted? Like, what is the thing?
The internet is definitely your bad boyfriend. There's no question about it. It's like kind of irresistible, but like, not good for you.
Do you love me now?
Exactly.
Do you love me now?
And the answer is no. No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. And
so then I have to reject the rejector, which is why I'm not on social media much, because I'm just like,
yeah, exactly.
Screw you.
Right.
Enjoy your choices.
Right. Well, that is what the internet is. I mean, we're writing it right now.
This is different because this is a conversation. That's very different.
Yeah, but it really is different, because it's like, if nobody listens to this and we just had a conversation, I'd still be happy. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about, I heard you talking to Mark Maron about Gail and about something that blew me away, which was your mom asked for forgiveness without being upfront about what she had done. And that is just like, holy crap. What do you make of that? What do you make of that? Because she couldn't have received it fully because she knows she wasn't being fully honest.
But that's not how power works, right? Power just grabs. I mean, I had mixed feelings about it. On the one hand, she robbed me of the chance to grieve her because it was a stolen forgiveness.
Right.
On the other hand, knowing my nature, I probably would have, in spite of if she had really.
Right.
And here's the thing. She asked for forgiveness. She didn't apologize. She asked for forgiveness, which is very different.
Yeah.
And so, because like a true apology is where you say, I know I don't deserve your apology, but I have to come clean about this thing where I've destroyed you. And I just want you to know I've done it and I own it and that's all me. That's a very different exchange. Right. And that's not the one I got.
Right.
We were naturally not compatible, and I thought we'd come to a namaste. That sucks.
Right.
We got goodie bags that don't taste good together. Right. You got my peanut butter, your peanut butter, and my pasta sauce is not as much.
Not great. Yeah.
Right. So then I had to, I had to just think about if that's as good as she could give it.
Right.
But the other piece of it that was more valuable to me was when she said, what if you were always this nice? And she had this like moment of recognizing that she was high as a kite, but when she said that, the combination of...
What did that mean to you?
It meant that she was aware for a brief moment of her misperception of me. Mm-hmm. And even that moment was something that I longed to be seen. Right. I mean, you long to be seen, heard, known, and then appreciated. The best thing in the whole world is somebody's face lights up when they see you, because they really see you. Not just that their face lights up because you're in the room, but because they love you. They love my favorite people in the world are the ones that are like, he did what to you? Right. Not on my watch. Right. We ride at dawn. Right. And I've never had that in any form. Right. Where somebody just, not professionally, not in any way, where I could rely on that person. There's not like...
I don't think I would take that. I don't think I would, if somebody said, started to take my side like that, I would say, well, hold your horses there, pal. I would stop that person from defending me.
But don't you have that with your family? Don't you want the we ride at dawn feeling with your family?
I don't want them to have to worry about me. I worry about them, but I don't want them to have to worry about me.
So you like it one-sided?
I don't want to feel like, especially with my kid, like that he has to worry about fighting my battles. Mm-hmm. That would be a disaster to me.
Right.
That would be terrible.
So you don't like a serf, what's that system? The feudal system? You're not into the...
We don't have the pharaoh system in my house at all. As a matter of fact, if there was such a pyramid, I'm at the bottom of the pyramid. I'm below the dog.
Right.
In terms of the hierarchy of needs, like whose needs are being serviced at any one moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you find partners and people in your life, love partners, but
friends,
people
anybody,
in your life,
work, business,
who either complement what you have or fill the need you have to resolve some trauma or something that's going on. So they may be irritating to you in a huge way, but in exactly the right way that you need in order to hopefully fix the thing that was so fucked up in your life.
Right. And, like in the midpoint of his story, the hero gets what they want, but it's not what they need.
Right.
Right. Which is why the story keeps going.
Correct. Until you find the thing that the hero needs to figure out or to overcome, and then the story's over. Mm-hmm. Solving the problems of a fictional person is a real catharsis sometimes in your real life.
What's a character where you solved something that you had that feeling?
I did a show once called Wendell and Vinny, which was a show only got one season, and I talk about it a lot on the show because it was very close to my heart. It was about a sort of a dipshit comic book guy who had a store that sold comic books and all kinds of stuff, and he was kind of a Arrested Development kid. He has suddenly gets custody of his genius nephew, and he's the only person to raise this kid, and he really feels completely unqualified to do it. His sister is this sort of angry person who thinks she should have been the one given the kid, and so she tries to help raise the kid from the outside. And then there's a beautiful neighbor that he's got a crush on. So I'm that guy. I'm the Vinny. I'm the guy who's the Arrested Development comic book guy. My wife was both those people, the beautiful person next door and also the critical, the sister, are both my wife. And my son is this genius kid. And it was so much fun to write that show about this group of people that are mostly all me, and that I could really sort of fight with myself about what it's like to have the responsibility to raise a kid who seems wonderful, but you know you're ruining, or you're afraid you're ruining as you're living. And to get through that idea of like, well, what can you do? You have to just do your best and hope that it works out. That was cathartic. It's cathartic to tell stories about the dilemma that you're in,
right,
and see different directions that could go. That's cathartic.
So what do you notice what your themes are? Do you always have like something you're always...
A lot of my themes are father and son themes. A lot of my themes are about dads and sons. But I do that a lot. But I also do shows about people who are incompatible, odd couple-ish kind of shows, and movies about people who are in unusual, dire situations. Yeah,
I love a good story where they have to work together, and then a deep and lasting bond is formed. I love a fish out of water story. But it's making me think of Sinead O'Connor's album Universal Mother. That was one of those moments where when that album came out, I thought, oh, I feel like I'm a part of the conversation about family that is not being talked about, that because so many people don't even realize how good they have it.
Yeah.
And so to I don't know, just something about family appreciation.
Did you like growing up in the Laurel Canyon world of those people? A little bit of show business up there, a little bit of...
I could not wait to escape. Yeah. I was definitely I wanted out fast.
Yeah.
But I didn't have any skill set.
Right.
I didn't leave with, now you can do it.
Right.
Fly. It was just, it was just thud.
Well, but I mean, you're a very capable person. I
just didn't have the confidence. I didn't know I was capable.
Okay.
And I wasn't being met by the outside world in a way that reflected that was true.
What were you being met with?
I think people that, well, for example, like in show business, they didn't know how to cast me because I wasn't chubby enough to be the fat girl best friend, and I wasn't pretty enough to be the lead. I
could have made you chubby enough. If you stuck with me, I absolutely could have made you chubby enough. I could have made you castable like that in a month.
Don't be alone with Jake Hogan.
I remember going on a date with Quentin Tarantino, and he had told me, was his hero John Carpenter or some other horror?
Roger Corman?
No, I don't remember. But the point of the story is, this person who he idolized happened to be in the theater where we were going on the date, and I said, oh, why don't you go say something to him? And I think he'd only made Reservoir Dogs at that time.
Okay.
And he said, no, I'm not going to say anything, because I want to meet him as a peer. And I thought, oh my God, he's going to let an opportunity go by.
Right.
And he has enough faith in himself to think that he can get where he's going.
Right.
And then it'll work out. He'd rather miss the opportunity now than be met not as a peer. And I was blown away by this idea. Yeah. So those kinds of things were amazing, but in terms of just like hanging out with somebody or seeing somebody, it had such a hollow feeling because I didn't, to his thinking, I didn't feel like I brought anything to the table.
Let me ask you something. On a date with Quentin Tarantino, do you get actually 2 or 3 sentences out? Because he talks a lot.
Yeah.
He talks a lot.
Yeah. Well, I was shy, so it worked out.
It worked out great. I had been in company a couple times, and he does not stop talking.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. What he's saying is very interesting.
And he was funny too because he said, "Well, it was nice to meet you, but we can't go any further because I'm gonna go write this movie, and I'm gonna be gone and out of range, basically working on this thing." And I thought, wow, this guy is so dedicated to his work and so honest. I thought that I was again also really impressed.
Right.
I thought that was.
I would have heard it completely as a blow off.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Me, myself, my ego would have been just, he doesn't like me. He don't like me.
I just assumed no one liked me, so it didn't even register.
You started there. No, but Quentin's confidence, that level of confidence is what you need to become Quentin Tarantino. Because I don't think that, I love his movies. I love his work, and I'm not taking anything away from his artistry. But that level of confidence puts you in that realm to do that kind of work.
Yeah, he's definitely he has a lot of energy.
Yes.
And it feels like you're meeting the warehouse of the whole thing that's gonna get him all the way to the end.
Yeah, and it's true. That's the engine, and it's great. I'm less energy than that. I have much less energy, which is why I'm not nearly as successful, and that's fine. I didn't. At one point, I had ambitions to be a kind of Quentin Tarantino, but I didn't have that energy.
Did we get to all the things you were worried about?
No, but we never do. You can't possibly fix all the things I'm worried about. This is Don't Be Alone with Jake Hogan. It would take months, years for you to do that. I have therapists working on this kind of stuff. They can't help me.
What about a show where you move in with a bunch of people and you take a whole month to try to get to them all?
Maybe. I probably have the time to do it at some point. So, all right. Well, Moon, thank you for all this. I have some questions for you from viewers. It's time for question time.
Okay.
It's question time.
Monica Martin writes, what is one thing you learned from your dad that most influenced your outlook today?
Oof, I would say, not in a good way, perfectionism.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah. So I'm trying to train myself out of that and just be like, let's just go for a B-.
Right. Doing it is more important than getting it perfect.
I'm hanging out with you.
Oh, you got to hang out with me for this. I'm really good. I'm actually really good coach in terms of creativity because I will stop someone from finding a reason not to do it, from living in the fear of, what if it's shitty? Well, then so what? Then it's shitty. Mm-hmm. Do the shitty thing. Let's see if we make the shitty thing and then make it better. Maybe the shitty thing you're making turns out not to be so shitty. Let's find out.
Right. 50-50 chance.
Yeah. We're better. Like if you're starting with certain talents, maybe you have only a 30% chance of being shitty.
Right.
Let's go for mediocre and then see what happens.
Yeah.
But that's perfectionism is bullshit. And nothing's perfect anyway.
Yeah.
Holly writes, how did she feel when she heard her name spoken by Dr. Evil?
Oh, that was hilarious. There's been a couple times where I've had those kinds of surprises. Mm-hmm. I write about it in one thing in the book when I was. It's a funny story, but the punchline is I found there was a store in New York that was called Moon Unit, and at that time I had been collecting a lot of baby clothes, and I was just shocked by somebody investing in my name, and it actually made me. Never want to do drugs, even though we grew up with no drugs or alcohol. But I was like, I can never end up in rehab. These people have an LLC in my name.
Right. So
I cannot let them down.
You didn't want to sue them.
I did not want to sue them.
Yeah.
No, I had this feeling that I just wanted to make sure that people were happy with their choices and that they, in some ways, it kept me extra cautious about being a fuck up.
Well, did it, because you're like a celebrity baby and people's eyes would be on you, was that also kind of the thing?
There was another situation where it wasn't just that I was a celebrity baby. There was such a projection. I became a stud llama, a lighting rig. There was all these ways in which people loved this whatever their version of Moon Unit was. And I remember I was working on this at a group of friends, and we were looking through like one of these books, like Keeping the Love You Want or Getting the whatever, one of these books, and I was answering all the questions, and we got to this one section in the book where it was like a testimonial about a couple, and the couple had named their relationship a Moon Unit, and then they started doing really well together.
Oh wow!
And I thought, I'm literally like, I don't have love. They're using my name for love. How does this work out?
Right.
So it was. That doesn't happen. This doesn't happen to other people.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't. When you did the Valley Girl thing, no awareness, I assume, that it would be a thing.
No, that was just me as a 13-year-old having about 17 minutes of alone time with my father in the recording studio in our house. Because I was missing him so much, I slid a note under the door, and he woke me up on a school night one night, and you just grab it when you get it with him. And so it was just time with him that then shocked both of us. Right.
Was it fun?
No. And in the book, I talk about why it wasn't fun, but part of it was that my father had, I think, 34 albums or something like that, 20 years of work. And so this song for him didn't represent the best of what he'd already put out into the world. He never had FM radio success. And my Gail had always said that improv isn't writing. And the only reason why I got credit was because of her. And the only reason why I got money was because of her. So get out there and sell this album. Huh?
That's crazy. The great actor Dean Cameron writes, does she cherish her time working on Fast Times TV series?
Yes, I do. Thanks for asking. That was really fun. Yeah. So I was hired as the language consultant because of Valley Girl, because I was told and it was in print that I had started a movement, but really I was just noticing something that was hiding in plain sight. So it was a thrill to be asked to come in and make sure the scripts had teenage language that was current,
authentic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, sure.
And then I got lucky enough to be given a part on the show.
Now it's time for listener mail.
Now it's time for listener mail.
This is all in what we've been talking about. So I don't know if it's repetition, but here it is. Holly asks, how should we measure success in life? Is it measured in worldly goods and acclaim, professional achievement, or personal growth? Holly? It's a measure of money. If you have a dollar sign, so if you're not collecting the right amount of dollars, then you're a failure, right? Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah.
It's not about any of those. It's about what makes you feel like you have achieved something. That's a personal success. Is just what makes you feel good, whether you've done something.
I mean, I'm a fan of the song Nature Boy, just to love and be loved in return. I didn't get that. I haven't even done that one yet.
Right.
So
okay.
I'm working my way through all the things.
This is success. This is success.
Yeah.
You made something.
I think completing something is a success. That's why it's more fun for me to run in a circle and finish. Like we started one thing and you come around and do a circle. Making circles. I actually made a lot of circles during writing the book. Yeah. I needed to complete something to know that I could keep completing something.
But exactly that. Creating something is a success. It doesn't have to be a huge hit. It doesn't have to be bought by millions of people. It's just doing something is a success. I completely agree with that. That if you have an idea, if you have a desire, if you want to see Pacoima and you get to Pacoima, you are a success. You know, have dreams, have hopes, have ambitions, and then move towards them. Moving towards it, not even completing it, moving towards it is a success.
True. That's true.
So if you wanted to, run a marathon and what you did the first day was you ran, walked 3 blocks, that's success. That day's success. People are really harsh on themselves, me included, on myself, what is not good enough and what doesn't count. And I have to remind myself that all this stuff counts.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you ever read The Little Prince?
I have read Little Prince.
Yeah.
And I've seen the movie many, many times.
Right. And I feel like that's what that story is, the description of just how you're observing something. Yeah. The little drawings.
Yeah. It was fascinating. Did you ever watch the movie when you were a kid? Yeah. Watched it all the time.
Best.
Yeah. All right. And now we'll finish up with our moment of joy.
A moment of joy.
What's something that gives you joy?
Drinking tea.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one of the main ones. Being physical, moving my body, that always that always makes me really happy. Dance especially.
Like when I have to exercise, I was like, well, I don't really want to exercise, but I should exercise, so I'm going to exercise, and I have to build up, the will to do it.
Right.
I never once have I thought I gotta dance.
Right.
But that's in you, right?
I think because I've had so many, and the kind of dancing I'm talking about is where you you kind of conjure something, and then you
an expression.
You locate something in your body that's a stuck place, and you just shake it off. And it's intentional movement. So it could be.
So how often do you hit the dancing?
I have
in
to
your
do.
day?
I mean, I try to have at least one dance, like jump on my mini trampoline to music, or punch the air, whatever the thing that is needed that day. But I love movement.
How many times do you jump?
I love skipping. Skipping's really fun.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I feel like you're either insane or you're in a great mood if you're skipping.
Right. Well, they say it's hard to feel bad if you're skipping.
Yeah.
So can you literally, if you're in a bad mood and you start skipping, you should be able to put yourself in a good mood.
Yeah, and then just honestly making different shapes. Like you just feel better with your arms.
Yeah.
Like you're crossing a finish line. But there's something expansive about.
Well, they say.
that
I mean,
shape.
I do that. The lazy man's version of that is taking a superhero stance. Just standing. If you stand with your arms akimbo.
Like one of these.
Yeah. If you stand, So you stand up, and you look like a superhero, and you chest out and smile. If you stand like that for 5 minutes, you will feel stronger and more confident.
Okay. I like it.
Your mind will react to what your body's doing.
Yeah, it's true.
And so if you if you smile,
right.
If you walk around and smile or laugh,
right, or if you breathe in a way that's relaxing when you're agitated,
right,
and you trick your body into, I'm totally chill with this. These are all ways in.
That's why I have a pole vaulting setup in my backyard. And I trick my body to make me think I'm an Olympic athlete. So I just pole vault. And I don't often make it over the pole, but it's fine.
I do love a good farmer's market too.
Okay, but a real farmer's market.
Yeah.
Not the Fairfax farmer's market.
Yeah.
Okay. Because do you cook? You cook?
I love to cook.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
that's
Does
definitely
it give you joy?
Yes. And especially working with a wooden spoon, especially if it's a long wooden spoon, like an iced tea spoon.
Stirring something?
Oh my God, I'm gonna pass out just thinking about it.
Happy. Okay, you got to stir something. All right, good. All right, that's good joy for you. Moon, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. It's been great to see you after all these years.
Yeah, so fun.
Great sharing stories of our trauma. I haven't yet written my book. Maybe you'll advise me on how to write my book about growing up in the Kogan household.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think
it's just 5 pages, 179 times.
Yeah, that's true. But I have to have something to say, and it can't be the same thing over and over again. Like I made linguine and then calmed my mom down. That would be the same sentence over and over again 500 times. It's great to see you, thank you for being here. And I want to thank the audience for being here. Thank you for being here. If you have anything you want to write about, if you have a question for Moon, I'll forward it to her, or you can catch her on the interwebs if you're still there.
Yep. Moonunit.com.
Moonunit.com. And you can buy her. Where you can find your teas?
On my site.
On moonunit.com?
Yeah, moonunit.com.
Okay, and you can buy your book also, but that can be on Amazon. I got it on Amazon, so you can get it anywhere. It's called Earth to Moon and is really good. And if you have a question for me, write me at dbawjk@gmail.com and I will answer. And if you have questions, we put it on the show. We love it. And be here next week for whoever it will be. It won't be somebody as good as Moon, but it will be somebody. We'll try to get somebody as good as Moon. Take care and have a good day. Bye-bye.